Welcome to Brad's Collection and Braden's Toy Show.
Hey guys, what's going on today? It's almost Thanksgiving. We got something special today. We haven't done one of these in a long time. We used to do these for Bill Apter's OneWrestling.com, but we're going to read an interview with a wrestler out of a magazine. This is Pro Wrestling Illustrated June 2021, and it's an interview with Bianca Belair, the hot seat.
The EST of WWE.
Braden's going to be the interviewer, as I am Bianca Belair for this. And I'm also going to read the beginning of it. So here we go. Many wrestlers dream all their lives of making it to WWE and having their big WrestleMania moment. A lucky handful of those would-be superstars might just get to experience what they've waited for all their lives. And yet, for all those who toil in search of their dream, there are others who are seemingly destined to be wrestlers. In other words, wrestling finds them. Wrestling found Bianca Belair. A young track and field standout who transitioned into CrossFit after college, the Knoxville, Tennessee native realized she might just have a career inside the squared circle. While many athletes try and fail to make this transition, it was immediately evident Belair wouldn't be one of them. She signed with WWE and reported to the Performance Center, where she became a star pupil. Before too long, Belair was a fixture of WWE's NXT television. Though she never managed to capture championship gold in NXT, she had memorable showings in the Mae Young Classic and at multiple takeover events. At last year's WrestleMania, she showed up to help out the Street Profits, one half of whom is her real-life husband, Montez Ford. After that, she became an official member of the Raw roster. Last fall, she was drafted to SmackDown, where she quickly became one of the Blue Brand's most impressive competitors. Thanks to her remarkable strength, agility, intelligence, and work ethic, she was dubbed the EST of WWE. Belair feuded with Bayley, who ranked number 1 on last year's PWI and the Women's 100 list, easily getting the better of the multi-time world champion. And with her inspiring victory in the 2021 Women's Royal Rumble match, she earned a main event title shot at this year's WrestleMania, where she'd face the champion of her choosing. In addition to all her in-ring accomplishments, Belair and her husband run a website, The Culture Connection, devoted to promoting black history, culture, business, and more. As she prepared for her championship contest with Sasha Banks at WrestleMania 37, Bianca Belair took the time out of her busy schedule to speak with PWI Editor-in-Chief Kevin McElvaney about her experience at the Performance Center, how she maintains her confidence, and making history in more ways than one.
First off, congrats on winning the Royal Rumble. How does it feel to be challenging for the SmackDown Women's title at WrestleMania?
Thank you. I really think that I couldn't have hoped for wished for a better outcome. From the very beginning, they would ask me who was my dream match. Sasha Banks will always be at the top of my list, and I'm very grateful that I'm in this position. I won the Women's Royal Rumble, and I was in a position to be able to choose to face Sasha Banks and create history at WrestleMania. Not only am I going to WrestleMania, not only am I having a match at WrestleMania, but we're also creating history together at WrestleMania. I couldn't ask for a better situation to be happening.
That's awesome. As you mentioned, this is a historic match. It's your first WrestleMania match. It's also the first time that 2 black women have faced each other on the WrestleMania stage for a singles title. That's got to be a lot of pressure in some ways. It's exciting as it is. A few weeks out, what's going through your mind? Are you nervous at all?
Of course I'm nervous. Growing up, my dad always taught me that if you're nervous, that means you care. I always try to relate it back to running track. I was running track since I was 5 years old, and even when I got in college, I would still get nervous. When I think about wrestling, I'm always going to be nervous. The one thing that stuck with me, I remember being at my very, very first takeover in NXT, and my daddy was there, and I told him, I'm so nervous. He said, it's okay. It's okay to be nervous as long as you're not scared. And now, with it being my very first WrestleMania, that's what sticks in my head. It's okay for me to be nervous as long as I'm not scared, and I'm definitely not scared. I've never been brought up to be intimidated by anything. To know that I'm going to be in the ring across from someone like Sasha Banks, she's a pro. I'm just excited. If anything, I don't feel pressured because I feel like we're creating history and we're continuing to level the field when it comes to women in sports. We just want these opportunities so that we can show up and show out.
You're also making history with this interview. Now, this is something that's long overdue here, but but you're going to be featured solo on the cover of this issue of PWI, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, PWI. We don't do a lot of these solo covers up to this point, and I went and double checked on this. You're the first black woman who ever been on the cover of PWI by herself. So that's going to be history making in a different way. Little girls are going to walk by in the grocery store. They're going to see your face staring out at them on the magazine rack. Did you ever think growing up, or even back when you were doing CrossFit, that you would be on the cover of a magazine someday? Was that ever a goal for you?
Being a little kid, I remember going to the grocery store, and as my mom was shopping, I would go to the line, to the magazine section at the time. That was where I always hung out. I always imagined myself just being on some type of stage. And I wanted to be on the cover of magazines. I remember telling my mom, she said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I said, "I don't know. I just want to do something where I'm performing and I'm on stage and I want people to throw roses at my feet." She's like, "What are you talking about?" In my mind, it was like I knew what I wanted and I knew what I didn't want. I just didn't know that it was wrestling until it found me. Then once wrestling found me, I was like, this is it. I'm never letting this go. This is what I've been looking for. While I never imagined myself being a WWE wrestler, because it just wasn't something that was in my brain, I wanted to be an Olympic track athlete. I wanted to be a gymnast. But I feel like everything in my life that I did, it led to this moment now. Now it's all coming together. And I can use every single piece of me and pull from every experience that I've had growing up. While I did want to be on the cover of a magazine, and I dreamed of being on a television screen, I didn't know how. Now I'm a wrestler, and I can't imagine myself doing anything other than this. Action figures, video games, trading cards, and now the cover of a magazine. Sometimes it feels unbelievable. I feel like at this point I'm living in a fairy tale. I have a tattoo on the side of my ribs that say fairy tale that I got. And nobody ever understood why I got it. I believe in fairy tales. And I feel like my fairy tale is coming true. It's silly, as cliche as it sounds, it's just unbelievable where my life is right now. And I'm humbled and grateful. And I just feel extremely blessed. I feel like I'm in the true testament of everybody. You better start believing in yourself, because literally anything is possible.
As you mentioned, you didn't necessarily expect to get into wrestling. You have this background in CrossFit and other kinds of athletics, but you're something of another outlier, because there are a lot of people who show up at the Performance Center now who've been on the independent wrestling circuit for a decade or more. Now that you're there, is there ever a part of you that wishes that you'd gone a different route and put in that time on the indie circuit?
Well, when I first got into WWE NXT, there was definitely a part of me that wished that I would have gone to the indies and started a little bit earlier, because it's like, I've grown. I've fallen so much in love with the sport of wrestling. It's like when you meet the love of your life, you're just like, gosh, where have you been this whole time? I wish could have experienced you way earlier. Also, in my mind, I'm thinking I was able to pick up on the things very quickly, physically with the moves. If I could have started doing this when I was like 21, imagine where I would be right now. Of course, I've had that thought in my head, but at the same time, when I look back on everything, I think that everything that I've done leading up to this point, I've been able to pull from it, and it's really contributed to my success. I completely stopped CrossFit. I stopped outside things that was doing when I got there, and I completely poured myself into wrestling and really focused on honing my craft. I think that's all paid off now, and I think that the people in the locker room, they've seen the hard work and they've seen the dedication. I think that moment when I won the Royal Rumble was so big because everyone was seeing everything paying off.
After the first couple of times I saw you wrestle, I looked you up, and I was amazed that you had not been on the indies for years. Like, what? How are you this new to this and this good? You're the EST, so that's part of it. But everybody says how great the Performance Center is, and some credit for sure has to go to the training that WWE provides. Is there anybody who you'd like to maybe give a shout out to who helped you a lot in the early days and helped help you make who you are today?
The Performance Center is amazing, especially for people like me who haven't had any experience in wrestling. The one person that always comes to mind I will always give credit to is Sarah Amato. Sarah Amato taught me how to do my first headlock, my first wrist lock, and she's so patient, and she taught me everything that I know. She's not just a coach, she's someone that you can go and confide in. I remember having talks with her about character, and when I say character, I don't mean wrestling character, I mean character as a person. She helped me navigate my way through this business and figure out the right things to do and the wrong things to do. She had so much knowledge. She has a way of connecting with people. Coming in and not knowing anything, she made me feel so comfortable and confident being in the ring and confident in myself. But there's so many coaches in the training facility. The Performance Center really sets you up for success when it comes to learning the skills and the sport of wrestling. It's just a huge resource. I feel like no matter how deep you are at wrestling and how much experience you have, there's always something new to learn, and the Performance Center offers that.
Is that something that you still do? I know you don't have too many days off, but will you go back there and work on your craft?
Definitely. I will definitely go back and work on my craft right now. A lot of things have slowed down right now, but as far as going on and training, me and my husband, we have our own weight room in our house, so we just can lay low and stay in our house a lot. But I still keep in contact with a lot of the girls. I feel like Performance Center gave me so much, and I just want to give back in the ways that I can to anyone that's coming behind me or anyone that's even at the Performance Center right now that's just gotten there. I've reached out to some of the girls that just got there hired. I'm excited to watch them in NXT and watch their journey to get to SmackDown.
You had a pretty, I don't want to say a quick journey, but you certainly put your time in back in NXT. But this all happened in less than a year. You left NXT and then went to Raw and then SmackDown. And then you won the Royal Rumble. You set the record for time in the ring, or broke Natty's record, I believe. That's amazing. But you were in the ring for almost an hour. Now that's not something that you would normally be doing during one of your matches. Obviously, you got great physical conditioning, but mentally even, that's just got to be a big toll on you.
I feel like I was in there a very long time for the Royal Rumble, and I think that's the fun thing about the Royal Rumble. It's so unpredictable, and you have to continue to watch your back. It all falls with a little bit of tenacity and hard work, but it's a little bit of luck too. But I think being that I had such an amazing Royal Rumble in 2020, I was just really looking to try to top 2020. In my mind, the only way to top was to win the Royal Rumble. When I came out at number 3, I didn't really think about being in the ring for so long, because to me, it was just a given. If I'm number 3, I'm probably going to be in here for close to an hour. So my mind was already wrapped around the idea, and I was just focused on throwing girls out and making sure no one's going to throw me out. Everything reset for me when it was Rhea Ripley, Charlotte, and I in the ring. I had been in there for probably close to 50 minutes at that point. But once it was the 3 of us standing in the ring, I feel like everything completely started over, because it took me back to the year before where we were all 3 standing in the ring at NXT. When I was going for the title and they both bumped me out and they went and had their WrestleMania moment, I think that's how I lasted so long. In that moment, I was like, nothing else matters. I've been in the ring for over 50 minutes, but this is when it counts. Even if I break the record right now, being the person in the ring's longest, it doesn't matter if I don't win, but I'm going to have my WrestleMania moment, and now they're going to have to get bumped to the side this year.
Part of it is hard work, part of it is ability, and then I think the third ingredient for success in wrestling is confidence. You definitely seem to have that. Depending on the role you're playing, you can either come off as a really braggadocious, or just exuding this natural confidence. Is that something you had to learn to show, or are you that confident in your day-to-day life?
I feel like as a kid I was more quiet. I was more shy. but I was naturally very good at things. I was naturally athletic. I was naturally smart, but I put the responsibility on myself to try to tone myself down because I didn't want anybody else to feel different about themselves. And then sometimes I would get teased. If I would go out and I would start flipping down the football field, people would call me a show-off sometimes. And some things that you can see in the WB Chronicle that just came out about me, I went through this journey of trying to figure out who I was as a person. And once I figured out who I was, I love that feeling of loving on myself and being confident in myself. I feel like when I'm in the ring, all that comes out where I'm saying I'm no longer going to be this little shy, quiet girl in the corner. I know that I'm good at something, and I'm going to normalize being proud and being loud about being great at something. There's nothing wrong with that. If you know you're good at something, be proud and loud about it. I feel like I just pull from my life experience when I'm out there. It took a while for me to find wrestling. I always say wrestling found me. It's my soulmate. But it took a while for wrestling to find me, and I'm finally here. I know that I'm good at something. I'm going to be proud and loud about it. If someone can't handle it, that's on them.
It seems to me like you have a really supportive family. Did they instill that confidence in you growing up?
They definitely did. My mom and my dad always made sure that they instilled in me. For one, the number one thing is my household was hard work. You don't get anything if you don't work hard. If you start something, you have to finish it. They always had these expectations for me that they wanted me to do more, and they wanted me. College really wasn't an option. It was more of an expectation, and it was something that I wanted to do. They had this way of creating an environment where I was motivated. It wasn't really that they forced me to do something, but my mom always made me walk with my heads up high, my shoulders back. It was just something instilled in me since I was a little girl. And they always fought for me to be that woman. And that's why I went out. I went through some depression and anxiety in college. I remember my mom saying, "This isn't who you are." And something's happened. You need to get back to who you are. You need to get back to that confident girl. They've always just instilled confidence and hard work in me ever since I was a kid.
By the time most people read this, you'll have won at WrestleMania or not. Assuming all goes your way and you do win the title, what's next on your bucket list?
If I beat Sasha, I've already beaten Bayley. That just leaves Charlotte and Becky, and I have beaten the 4 horsewomen.
Do you have anything to share with our younger readers? What advice would you give someone trying to figure out what they want to do in this world?
Just keep starting. I think it's cool to try. A lot of people think trying is uncool. And also, just stay true to yourself. One day you can live your own fairy tale. There you go, guys. That was an interview with Sasha Banks from the Pro Wrestling Illustrated June 2000. I said Sasha Banks. Wow. Bianca Belair from the June 2021 Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. See you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.